I'm gonna give my heart away, leave it to the other girls to play. For I've been a temptress too long, yeah.
Give me a reason to love you. This is the beginning of forever and ever. Playing with this bow and arrow, gonna give my heart.
Making this video has made me feel like a real dummy. How appropriate. My intention making this video was to tell the story how the making of Portishead's Dummy was a real lesson for them in taking the path of least resistance, and yet I've faced nothing but resistance making this video, y'all. Broken equipment, sudden storms, you would not believe the cosmic irony of what's gone down. And maybe that's the point, because while Dummy's music sounds haunted, the members of Portishead really weren't, unless you consider Three Misfits scary, and yet some people really do. Okay, well, the early 90s were an era for outsiders. Kurt Cobain, Bjork, and Portishead brought in a new kind of collaborating, intuitive outsider. And making this album was an exercise in trusting the universe. Because Dummy, like this video, almost didn't happen at all. The album opens with Mysterons, a warm, shadowy groove that sounds like a spy film set on Mars. And that's no accident. The title comes from a childhood comfort show of the group's resident DJ, Geoff Barrow, a 1960s sci-fi series, Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons.
His name, Captain Scarlet.
So I had a lot of childhood obsessions. Did you guys have any? Let us know in the comments, because I'm so curious. I mean, it's funny how our childhood fixations sometimes circle back, inspiring us later. For Geoff, it was those spy and sci-fi shows like Captain Scarlet, and Mysterons were the creepy alien villains.
They too have a curiosity about the universe.
Geoff was obsessed with that show's B-movie theremin sound. And he wanted the music to feel like vintage futurism.
But sometimes the universe scores its best work through accidents, because
Then Beth Gibbons floats in, not so much singing as haunting the song. And here's what's crazy. This combo, this sound, really didn't exist before Dummy. It's been copied endlessly ever since, starting with Sneaker Pimps and more Chiba.
On the ground, watch this piece.
Then Dido, Gem, even Bjork and Madonna dipped into this sonic palette. Today you can hear its ghost in Lana Del Rey and even The Weeknd.
Take a walk on the right side. Let me kiss you hard in the pouring rain. You're like your cousin say, divine.
And I wonder if people listening to Billie Eilish realize that she carries the influence of Portishead, considering Billie was so inspired by Lana Del Rey. Either way, in 1994, it was all new and alien. So how did this particular set of aliens find each other? Turns out the government accidentally invented Portishead. It was early 90s Bristol, England, where the economy was a little sleepy. The Enterprise Allowance Scheme gave people on unemployment benefits a little money to start small businesses. Geoff Barrow signed up because he wanted to open a recording studio.
The government would give you £40 a week to set up your own business. You were sat on this kind of big table with a guy kind of at the front, and he asked you what you want to do. And then when it went to us, we said, oh, we want to be a music production company.
Beth Gibbons was on the same program trying to start a singing career. A mutual friend noticed that Geoff needed a vocalist.
And he was there to do production, and I was there to do singing. And so we chatted because of that, really.
And that's it. That's how one of the most influential bands of the 90s was formed.
Think about it. Beth just happened to be the only singer in the Enterprise Allowance Scheme. Their musical worlds couldn't have been more different. They couldn't have known that it would create one of the most influential combinations of the 90s. It's a reminder of what can unfold when you stop forcing and start trusting.
And yet, Mysterons is mostly Geoff's universe. Cold beats, secret agent suspense, alien frequencies. But it's Beth's emotion that pulls it all into orbit, which brings us to the moment she turns paranoia into passion.
Her song Sour Times has one of the great fake-outs of the 90s. The line, "Nobody loves me."
Nobody loves me. It's true.
Beth is giving her best "nobody likes me, everybody hates me, think I'll go and eat some worms" vibe. But then the next line comes in, "Nobody loves me, not like you." It's the moment we shift perspectives from outsider to outsider in love. And though it's a fake out, we still kind of feel like she means it. Hey, don't laugh, Susan. I relate. I've been there.
Sour Times' slinky main riff is actually a sample from Lalo Schifrin's Danube Incident. A 1960s spy film soundtrack piece, which explains the James Bond-esque Eastern-tinged vibe of the melody. Over that seductive motif, the band layered a drum beat sampled from Smokey Brooks' funk track, Spin It Jig.
Fellas! Yeah! We got a brand new dance that we want to whip on the nation. Are you ready?
Beth Gibbons delivers that famous refrain, "Nobody loves me, it's true," with a coy, forlorn sensuality, making loneliness sound seductive. Ironically, this song was so mesmerizing that plenty of people did love it. The original Spin review noted the track's gloriously slinky blend of hip-hop rhythm and spy movie atmosphere. With its haunting guitar twangs and Gibbons' soulful lament, Sour Times feels like wandering through a smoky lounge of broken hearts, unquote. The video came from a short film Portishead made before the album came out, but they hated it so much that they insisted it have a disclaimer added to the beginning. Then they were upset to find out that their record company used clips from the film to make the video, releasing the single against their wishes. One of the many times the band would be at odds with them. But it turned out to be a good decision, as it became one of Portishead's signature songs and the only track in the US to ever hit the Billboard charts.
Although it did only hit number 53, which proves once and for all my fellow Americans don't always have the best taste.
My fellow Americans.
It's crazy to me how in the UK, Portishead are kind of pop stars, but in America, they're almost considered indie. And Sour Times was a huge hit all through Europe. Not bad for a song based on a 30-year-old sample. And actually 60 years at this point, and yet it still sounds fresh. The title says it all. When Dummy came out, that's exactly what they were. Strangers to fame, strangers to press, and strangers to each other. This album came together very sporadically, and with all the members working on their parts separately during free moments.
Geoff Barrow was off in his own world, building beats out of dusty spy soundtracks and hip-hop breaks. And if you think those vinyl crackles sound organic, it's because they are. Geoff had all the music pressed to vinyl where he and others would step on them, and so they would sound weathered.
Beth Gibbons was in her own world, scribbling lyrics.
No, we've got a way of working and she's got her way of working. It would be just as intrusive for us to go into her house and start into her studio and start doing, it's not how it works, And when we work together, we have methods, ways of doing stuff, and it kind of works like that,
And then stepping into a booth and spilling her guts out to whatever Geoff Barrow had handed her. It wasn't so much collaboration, so much as telepathy through tape hiss. Tape hiss, not tape piss.
I'm whizzing with the door open, and I love it.
Two more strangers would complete the formula, Adrian Utley and David McDonald. Geoff met Adrian, a jazz guitarist with a taste for mood over flash, while working as an assistant engineer on Nena Cherry's excellent homebrew album. In fact, they produced one of my favorite songs from that album, Some Days.
Funky Saturday, dropping like me. I must have dreamt myself. Some days are better than some days.
Geoff and Adrian, and then later Dave, would work on the music for this album when they weren't working on Nena's album. And when Geoff needed guitar, Adrian brought atmosphere, not solos.
I was really interested in spy sounds, from the 60s. And I'd learnt a really big lesson in the studio that a beautiful sound on the guitar is not necessarily what you need on a record. When we were recording guitar with Portishead with Dummy, I had to think in a production kind of way as well.
Stranger starts with another fake out, this one a jazzy head fake. The opening notes are lifted directly from Weather Report's fusion piece, Elegant People. For a moment, you might think you've stumbled into a 1970s jazz club, but then the song pivots. Cue a heavy hip-hop beat and scratching, and we're back in Portishead's noir universe. The band also weaves in a saxophone flourish from Eddie Harris's Wait Please. Hiding it in a mix like a ghostly echo. The percussion by Clive Deemer is jaw-dropping here. Tight boom-bap drums that give the track an edgy swagger. Gibbons' voice in Strangers is enchanting and cool, almost conspiratorial as she sings, "Did you realize no one can see inside your view?" Overall, Strangers is quintessential Portishead. It's disparate elements coming together, including that untraditional guitar by Adrian, used in untraditional ways.
We generally thinned out my guitar a lot. I would have the fuzz on and a wah-wah on, so it's full treble quite a lot of the time. More treble than you could get out of an amp, you know. So it's got that Eastern European kind of Cold War sound.
But what motivated Adrian to join Portishead? With It Could Be Sweet, Portishead dials down the spy movie tension and slips into a slightly brighter, very slightly, though very smoky ballad. Hello, Crow. How appropriate. Ironically, the song is about the opposite of the kind of trust that Beth would develop with her bandmates. Lyrics like, you don't get something for nothing. You don't get something for nothing. Sounds more like fear rather than faith. It's a song that aches for connection, but still braces for disappointment. And yet there's still the promise of something sweet. It could be sweet. In that way, it feels like a soft prelude to Wandering Star. This slow-burning torch song builds from minimalist beats, deep sub-bass, and ghostly Rhodes chords. I don't want to hurt you. All leaving just enough space for Beth's voice. But, fun fact, It Could Be Sweet was one of the first songs Portishead wrote. It was the song that Adrian Utley recalls hearing it through a studio door when he first met the band. The combination of that heavy bass and Beth's voice made him stop in his tracks and say, quote, "Fuck me, what's that?" unquote. He soon joined the band, of course. The song lives up to its title in such a bittersweet way. It's sensual and tender, with Gibbons cooing about fragile hopes in love. The arrangement shows remarkable restraint. No big samples, dramatic scratches here, just a simple drum machine groove and a wistful melody. It Could Be Sweet proves Portishead could do more with less, delivering a wondrous sense of intimacy and late-night melancholy. And if you like this kind of philosophical deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe and share, because it really helps the video. And it really wards off those sour times. Every artist has a track that accidentally tells their own future. For Portishead, that song was Wandering Star. The lyrics talk about pain and grief all doubled up inside. The verses really feel like they come from a place of loneliness, while the chorus talks about a wandering star. For who is it reserved? 'Cause who is it reserved for? You can tell Beth was going through a lot when this album was being made, just by the lyrics. They're very existential, very lone wolf, but all that loneliness would change, as would the meaning of the song when Portishead became themselves wandering stars. As we've established, Portishead were strangers when they hit the road after Dummy was released, and this became the tour's anthem. And then the tour became the music video. The vision of long drives, tour buses, just three introverts learning to share space and getting to know each other. And the irony is that they were nothing like their music. Geoff once said that Beth only sings sorrow convincingly.
She shocks me, you know, she surprises me every day. I always try and judge people, but not judge people, but try and work out what they're like. But with Beth, I can never work out what she's like. She constantly keeps on changing.
I don't want people to think that I'm something I'm not. I don't want them to think I am particularly mysterious or interesting. I'm just exactly the same as they are.
Still, Wandering Star sinks back into darkness, a plodding bass and drum loop that moves like heavy weather. Geoff Barrow built this track around an insistent bass and drum loop, a plodding, hypnotic beat that you could almost walk in lockstep to.
Those who have seen the needle's eye
Very ominous. And to add a flash of excitement, Barrow got creative with sampling. The song needed a solo, he said, as instead of a guitar solo, he scratched in a snippet from War's 1970s funk song, Magic Mountain, as the solo. Listen closely and you'll catch that wailing horn and guitar riff from the War sample scratching across the surface.
We need to talk about flow. No, not that kind of flow. I mean music flow, life flow. The kind that people often dismiss as kind of woo-woo. Here it shows up a little bit like a 14-year-old goth teenager wearing eyeliner and existential dread. Moves like darkness itself, each song dissolving into the next.
From the beginning to the end has got to be right. So there's no, the vibe, you know, so every angle is covered, kind of. That's how we feel, you know, like it's complete, nothing missing. It's really important, even the silence in between the tracks is...
I can guarantee you that was half a day conversation about working out the, you know,
is it better
the
3
blank
seconds?
spaces in between. Yeah. And you try it 3 seconds, 5 seconds.
And make it 3.5.
Yeah. Well, how about if they join each other? Yeah.
It's a Fire especially feels like an extension of Wandering Star, with Beth questioning everything.
Nothing is always as it seems. I think that's the main thing.
Ironically, it didn't even make the cut. It was actually cut from the original UK release. But it was the only version I ever knew, as it was on the US release. Because for a song called It's a Fire, this song came dangerously close to being extinguished. It's a fire!
Musically, It's a Fire stands out for its droning Hammond organ, underpinning the entire song courtesy of Gary Baldwin again.
It's a fire.
And has a distinctly soulful vibe. It begins almost like an ethereal Kate Bush-style ballad, atmospheric keys and Beth's delicate voice, and then it slides into mid-tempo trip-hop groove with a hint of gospel flair.
'Cause we need to, for time and again, so let it be known for what we believe.
Those of you who've been here for my Kate Bush journey, what do you guys think? Do you think this has kind of a Kate Bush edge? It kind of reminds me of the duet she did with Prince, which I did do a full breakdown on. I'll leave that linked below.
Beth Gibbons delivers an emotive reflection on life's purpose, singing about this life is a farce. I can't breathe through this mask like a fool.
Okay, I'm ridiculous. I keep singing this life is a fart. I can't breathe through this mask like a fool. So breathe on, little sister, breathe on. But it actually does still work because this life can be pretty smelly.
The lyrics ponder whether life might be a cosmic joke, yet there's an undercurrent of defiance and hope.
And the one thing that I'd like people to realise that even it's like me laughing, you know, I mean, when we're doing this, I'm laughing, but it just goes to show how different it is on the outside to the inside. You know, I mean, human beings are brilliant at pretending to be something that they might not be.
The beat has an amount of funk, and the chorus lets Beth stretch into a passionate, bluesy wall. Many fans consider It's a Fire a hidden gem in Portishead's catalog, and I really think it could have been a single.
So Portishead's first choice for single was Numb. Now, as much as I love this song, and there isn't a bad track on this album, it's kind of an unlikely choice for a first single. And we're going to talk in a little bit how the choice for this as single kind of led to a lot of tension and sort of a battle between artist and label.
But the song is anything but emotionally numb. In fact, this track oozes a dark, seductive energy. It rides on a loping, down-tempo hip-hop beat. You can hear Clive Deemer's live drumming blended with gritty loops, creating a thumping backdrop. There's also a subtle Hammond organ ambiance and a distinctive raindrop percussion sound that plinks in the background, giving the mix a hypnotic quality. Beth Gibbons' vocal performance here is steamy. She purrs and sighs through the verses with a distinct sexual energy.
I never saw lost. But I have never seen.
She sings about profound loneliness and disconnection. This loneliness just won't leave me alone.
You just won't leave me alone.
Making this possibly the sexiest song about isolation ever written. As an interesting Easter egg, some attentive listeners believe that Numb hides a tiny sample of Ray Charles' that famous "Yeah" from the 1954 song I've Got a Woman appears to be scratched and pitch shifted into the background. The band never officially confirmed this, but once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Overall, Numb is a showcase of Portishead's ability to make despair sound enticing. But the single's underperformance led the label to forge ahead with releasing Sour Times against Portishead's wishes. This might be highlighted by the fact that Numb is one of the lowest streamed Portishead songs, though maybe the most underrated.
I'm going to say that Rhodes is like the emotional center of the album, the heart that everything else beats around. The instrumental is built on little more than mournful Fender Rhodes. And hey, you gotta respect a good musical pun. Yeah, Rhodes and some aching strings. But somehow it still feels as vast as the night sky. But it was also the moment during recording where it all almost fell apart.
During recording, Beth was exhausted and full of doubt. She hated how exposed her voice sounded and begged Geoff and Adrian to scrap the take. She said, "It's too raw, it doesn't sound right." For a moment, she wanted to even quit the band altogether. But Geoff, who was just as riddled with insecurity, insisted that they keep it. He heard something she couldn't, the sound of real fragility.
The truth was, Geoff had been nervous because they had been working on this album for months. But the universe stepped in again with the missing link, and that was Dave McDonald, who was able to put all the pieces together. For Rhodes, he suggested to Adrian a different type of bass sound.
Portishead, I could play the bass, but I only ever had a really shit, fretless bass where I'd ripped all the frets out of my Fender Precision copy. And that was the sound of Dummy. I used that on all of Dummy, apart from I borrowed a bass for Rhodes, which has a bass section in the middle, and I borrowed a fretted bass off of a friend.
Even after it was recorded, the band almost left Rhodes off the album because it felt too mournful, too out of step with the rest of Dummy's cool detachment.
Ooh. Can't anybody see? Never find our way. How can it feel this wrong?
Thankfully, they didn't, because that crack in their armor became the album's soul. When Beth sings, "Oh, can't anybody see? We've got a war to fight," you can hear that fight, not just in the lyrics, but in the performance itself. It's the sound of someone trying to hold themselves together while recording. Ironically, part of the melody was inspired by John Carpenter's score for Assault on Precinct 13. Though Beth almost asked for it not to be on the record, it's Portishead's third highest streamed song, just after Sour Times and Glory Box.
On Pedestal, Portishead is sultry and sinister in equal measure. Beth is feigning an Eastern European accent like a Bond villain.
How can I believe this miracle where the wind blows dry?
Do you think the accent is to delve deeper into Geoff and Adrian's spy movie tendencies? Is she the femme fatale? Because the lyrics make her seem abandoned.
You abandoned me, how I suffer. Ridicule breathes a sigh.
The track is driven by a brilliantly sinuous beat. Geoff Barrow's programming and Clive Deemer's drums lock into a slow, throbbing groove that's impossible not to dance to, at least for me. Adding to the dark jazz club atmosphere, there's a smoky trumpet cameo played by Andy Haig that sneaks in with lonely wails.
Is this the loneliest whale on the planet?
Especially towards the song's end. The horn element gives Pedestal a whiff of a vintage film noir, like a detective wandering rainy streets at 3 a.m. Beth Gibbons' vocals here are intriguingly restrained. At times, she uses a halting, stilted delivery that perfectly fits the song's theme. Lyrically, Pedestal seems to sketch out a portrait of someone who was put on a pedestal only to be left isolated, or perhaps a reference to a pillory given lines like, "You abandon me, how I suffer. Ridicule breathes a sigh." The bass line by Adrian Utley slithers underneath, and an occasional scratch effects whirl around, creating a sense of unease. Pedestal is an unappreciated gem, elegant yet claustrophobic, and really continues that through line of outsider isolation. But which of Portishead's songs is their spookiest?
Don't let the cozy title fool you. Biscuit is one of Dummy's most dark and abstract moments. But beneath the smoky beats, it's really a meditation on earthly distractions. Food, sex, drugs, and biscuit being a food of comfort. A biscuit as a metaphor for filling that God-shaped hole. This track is built around a wonderfully obscure sample, an old 1950s pop ballad by crooner Johnny Ray. Portishead took a snippet of Ray's "I'll Never Fall in Love Again."
I'll never fall in love again. It's all over now. It takes a heart to know the end. I'll never take the chance to feel the thrill of romance and love.
Wow, this is so much cheerier than one might have thought. Although, the more I think about it, there is something kind of eerie about the original. Either way, Geoff pitched it down dramatically, transforming a once sweet line into something ominous. The warped sample sounds like a ghostly voice on a detuned record, using a ghost as a metaphor for withdrawal, possibly reducing love to just another addiction. Over this, Geoff layers one of the heaviest breakbeats, full of vinyl crackles and grit, and adds plenty of DJ scratches to heighten the unease. Beth's vocals are distant and pleading, often weaving around the Johnny Ray sample as if duetting with a ghost from a relationship past.
No matter how hard I scream,
it fits in with the album's theme of not quite being able to connect. The whole track feels like walking through a dilapidated ballroom where only memories and a slightly evil gramophone still remain. Biscuit shows how Dummy isn't just chill out music, and as we're going to show in a little bit, the whole chill out curse became a hard thing for Portishead to shake.
I'm so tired of playing.
Glory Box was the song where everything all came together with both smoke and fire and became Portishead's most famous song and, ironically, their identity crisis. Still annoyed by the release of Sour Times and its video, they didn't even want the song released because they felt it was too commercial.
The track rests on an instantly recognizable sample.
I never abused you. I apologize now.
The languid bass line from Isaac Hayes' Ike's Rap 2. And at nearly the same time, fellow Bristol native Tricky used the exact same loop for Hell Is Around the Corner.
Hell is round the corner where I shelter. Isms is a schism. See, let me take you down the corridors of mine.
Two misfit geniuses, one groove. More like Hell Is Around that one sample. It is interesting how differently they used it. Over that hypnotic bass, Adrian Utley's guitar slides like silk through smoke. Guitar solos were not exactly Portishead's thing, and Glory Box is the only song to actually have one.
Play a kind of guitar solo on one of our tunes called Glory Box. At the time, it was kind of, I think Geoff suggested it, and we had a bit of a laugh about it, but it's actually been so much part of the tune now. It's kind of weird.
But also, Adrian's guitar playing really drives the track forward.
Give me a reason to love you.
While Beth Gibbons pleads, give me a reason to be a woman.
I first heard this song when I was transitioning, and so that hit me completely differently than I think probably for most people. And I assumed I was projecting a meaning onto the song, but actually I recently saw the video for it and I realized that gender was very much a part of the vision for this song. Even though I thought I was twisting the meaning to fit my own experience, it was sort of meant to be like that all along. Also, by the way, my only night as a drag queen, I actually sang this song. And I brought the house down. But my career as a drag queen was not meant to be. And though the song sounds seductive, it really isn't about submission, it's about defiance. The term glory box comes from an old Australian term for a hope chest, a box where women keep things for marriage. And Beth turns that idea inside out. This is not about saving yourself for someone else's life, it's about demanding space in her own. And it's a collision of worlds. Geoff and Adrian's dark, cinematic sci-fi universe meeting Beth's raw feminine rebellion, a fusion of their childhood comfort and Beth's adult awakening.
The song's sensual melancholy hit a nerve. It climbed into the top 20 across Europe, number 13 in the UK, number 10 in Canada, and became a touchstone of the 90s. The label had insisted it be a single. Geoff Barrow later laughed, quote, "We lost that argument, but we bought houses." Unquote. Also, Geoff and Beth were very suspicious of the whole world of being a pop star. I think this was kind of a 90s thing, getting really famous and then hating it. And this was never more obvious than when Dummy won the Mercury Prize.
I was there having a drink, and then all of a sudden, someone says, Portishead. And I just didn't even know what was going on. Walk up to the top, you know what I mean? And say something kind of profound and pop star-ish, you know what I mean? Which I think really particularly in our vocabulary. And they were in front of all these cameras, which is absolutely ridiculous to my sense of reality. You know what I mean? Abel will agree with this, and everyone will agree with this. This is absolutely stupid. You know what I mean? It's like the point. No, hang on a second. No,
really hard.
yeah, but the thing is that we could say something.
Adrian's been working for even longer.
But the thing is that.
Seriously, they haven't.
But the thing is that we
They're
could say.
obsessed with this.
What can I do? Get lost. Yeah, but we could say something quite serious here.
But success brought unease.
And if someone's, wants to kind of climb Everest, do you know what I mean? As their one goal in their life, and they climb it, and they come back down and go, what do I do now? You know what I mean? So it takes an awful long time. You've built up your whole life to make this your one thing.
Suddenly, trip-hop was everywhere. Sneaker pimps, more Chiba, later Dido and Gem, all tracing that same down-tempo blueprint. And Portishead could have ridden that wave easily, but instead they recoiled. Geoff later admitted he hated hearing Dummy used as coffee shop background music. It was supposed to ache, not decorate.
At the end of Dummy, we're calling it, it's a coffee table album. We'll have a nice little, dinner party and we'll put on Portishead. And that's what really got me driving to make another record that was like harder and more edgy. So people had to listen to it. People really couldn't, just kind of put it on and just go, oh, this is really nice,
That explains the long silence that followed. It took 4 years and a lot of self-doubt before they would return with their second album, heavier, darker, and more symphonic. And only the track Only You sounded like a sequel to songs off Dummy, but by then the world had moved on, so that song never really caught on, even though it's a great song. I actually talk about it in my 80s and 90s spooky music video. I'll leave it linked below if you guys want to see that, about spooky songs that sounded like hits, but that flopped.
But it took a long while for them to get back to that path of least resistance, making music that just felt good and that made Dummy a masterpiece in the first place. Following the road that felt true, even when it didn't feel easy.
If you'd like to see another video, there'll be one right here, or you can check out my album Reacumentary playlist right down here, or you can subscribe to me right here if you feel so inclined. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and I hope I get to see you next time. Popcorn Philosopher over and out.